It's not often that a movie feels like therapy, especially an original movie that isn't a franchise, a sequel, a prequel, a reboot. Everything Everywhere All at Once has been winning every award under the sun lately, and I've been very excited about it, but I was especially excited for the Oscars. And I'm never excited for the Oscars. I don't think I've given a singular shit about the Oscars, ever. With award shows, it is distinctly... How do I say it? It's white. It's very white. Every year, it's just white. There's no big surprise. There's no big... It's just kind of a circle jerk, in my opinion. There's nothing to really appreciate. There's nothing to look forward to. But this year was the one year that I didn't watch the Oscars, because I don't... I'm 30. I don't own cable, but what I do own is a computer and an active feed of who is winning what. We had RRR on the docket, we had The Whale, Brendan Fraser was up for Best Actor, and we had Everything Everywhere All at Once, racking up a crazy 11 nominations, and it fucking swept. They won 7 out of 11. That is the most awarded Best Picture since Slumdog Millionaire back in around 2009. That is crazy. That is unheard of. And we also made history. Just so much history was made last night. Michelle Yeoh and Ke Huy Quan both won Oscars, which means it was the first time 2 Asian actors won in the same year. And you might be wondering, Jesse, it's 2023. Surely it's happened before. No, of course it hasn't. Michelle Yeoh is the first Asian actress to win Best Actress. Everything Everywhere All at Once is a very important movie to me. As a writer, this is one of those films that I just keep watching over and over. It has so much rewatch value, not just from a plot perspective, but also from a writing perspective. I want to pick this thing apart. I want to know all of the gears. I want to go underneath like a mechanic and just see how this thing ticks. And I thought it would be fun to share 5 things that I learned from picking apart this film over and over, all at once, everything, forever. I was doing it a lot. It's been my life for a bit. Hey there, Past Jesse here. We're about to dive into some spoilers for Everything Everywhere All at Once, if you couldn't guess, so just turn back now. If you haven't seen the movie, please watch the movie. Just a little background on myself in case you're new here. Hello, I'm Jesse. I am an actor and a writer, and so is everyone on the internet, so who cares? I was a writing major in college, marketing was my minor, and my main job is writing and performing in internet content, and I've been doing that for the last 15 years, which is crazy because I'm sure I look 15. So let's just get into it. Oh god, I sounded so YouTuber-y just now. Let's just dive in. Writing advice number 1. Never let me go down that hole. It's a bad hole. We shouldn't go there. Everything Everywhere All at Once feels 6 hours long in the best possible way. There are ways that a movie can feel long in a bad way, like a Charlie Kaufman movie, which are fine movies, but it's certainly a vibe. Charlie Kaufman is certainly creating a vibe when you watch his films, and that vibe is ketamine. I am writing for a project that involves drugs of different kinds, and I was doing research on ketamine specifically, and found, oh, I could just do it for the science. Going through ketamine therapy, I finally understand Charlie Kaufman movies because transitions are happening and you don't understand how you got from one place to the other. Time is a little fucky. It's almost dreamlike, but it's a little more chaotic than Everything Everywhere All at Once. Everything Everywhere All at Once, you feel safe. I never felt lost like I did on ketamine or watching a Charlie Kaufman movie. And I realized this relation the 3rd time I watched Everything Everywhere. I gotta find a shorter way to say this. I'm just gonna say Everything Everywhere when I mean the full title of the movie. You get it. The 3rd time around, I noticed it with the Rakakuni scene because they tell a whole story with like less than 10 seconds of footage all stitched together. They shot so much film. They shot so many scenes. So much stuff happens within 10 seconds. And I got it. I understood it. The first time around watching this movie, I knew that plot happened. I got it in my head. And then by the 3rd time, I realized, oh, they really don't give you a lot, but in the best way. They're concise and particular about what they show you. When they say show, don't tell, they really mean it in this movie. You are almost exclusively just shown things about Evelyn's backstory. It's flash after flash, and within those 10 seconds, you just get it. One of the number 1 things I personally try to adhere to when I'm writing is the rule of don't treat the audience like they're stupid. And this movie is great at that. I feel like it's kind of a dumb man's smart movie. Because people who don't have much media literacy, who just want to enjoy a cool action popcorn flick, they can sit there and they can enjoy this movie. And you also have people who have more media literacy, who want the deep plot, and they're able to absorb this movie in an intelligent way. They can sit there and just watch this movie over and over and get something more out of it every single time. By just showing people flashes of plot, they can get it and you can move on, which makes this movie feel really, really long. But I loved it. It doesn't feel like it's slogging along. It feels long because you are yourself trapped in this multiverse. You are going down this hole and you're shown all these different worlds, all within this movie that is less than 6 hours long, but you feel like it is longer. Kind of like mushrooms. I know I'm relating, it's like a dumb thing to be like, oh, were you smoking pot when you wrote this film? It's so silly and wild. But when you take mushrooms, you do feel like time is wonky. Not in the ketamine way, not in the scary fast way, but in a beautiful, seeing all the possibilities, time folding over itself way. It is definitely a lesson that I'm gonna carry with me, because one of my biggest issues in writing my own scripts is I wanna put too much in there. I'm like, are people gonna understand? Do I have to show them this scene? And it's really helped me with a specific script that I'm working on, because you can just show flashes. They'll get it, they will understand. It's a great lesson, and it lets you fit more movie inside your movie. Now, you don't need me to tell you representation matters. We could talk for hours about Asian American representation and this movie and everything it does for it, but I'm a white passing Hispanic trans dude. I'm not equipped to dive into it and dissect it with the respect that it deserves. There are plenty of other videos on this website that you can go and hear people talking about that. Instead, I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about the three main characters and typecasting. Evelyn is a woman over 30. She's a wife, a mom, she runs her own business. And when you hit a certain age in Hollywood, you are dead. You're just dead in the water, doomed to just be playing the same roles over and over. And that is mom. They will just cast you as mom. Barry has a great scene in the show Barry where they joke about this, but it's very real. You are doomed to be playing these characters with no personality because no one gives a shit about older women. And I say older women, it is like around 30 that the characters just get bland. There's no shows about these people. It really meant so much to me when I showed my mom Dead to Me. It's a show on Netflix. It has women over 30 as the main characters, and it meant so much to her. I didn't understand why she was connecting to this so much. And my mom is so wholesome. She just sat there and she was like, I just feel like they could be my friends. And I realized how important that is. I don't get to see trans dudes playing main characters. That's why I'm writing the stuff that I'm writing. So of course it would mean the same thing to her, even though she's white. You know, we have characters everywhere for her to relate to. But at someone at her age, the whole world just constantly is telling her that she's not attractive, you know, through commercials, through culture. So I can't imagine how it is for people of other races. But again, we're not talking about that. I'm not going to talk about Evelyn being Asian. I'm going to talk about her in a different context. Not only are there no good roles for women over a certain age, they also dared to make her shitty. Evelyn is not a good person, and the movie dives into that. This whole movie is about what a big loser Evelyn is, how she alienates everyone around her, how she is the worst version of herself. We are defying stereotypes of women being over a certain age. They can be main characters, and they can be shitty. Now let's look at Wayman, who when we meet him is not the stereotypical most masculine guy. He's kind of a wimp, if we can be honest. What words do internet people use? Beta cuck energy? I don't know what that means, but it sounds correct. You know, he's a bit meek, his voice is higher, and trans dudes have to deal with that all the time, that we're not the stereotypical masculine guys that society wants us to be. I'm not 6'4" and have a big beard, so I look 15. And yet Wayman is proven to be hot in this movie. We get to see a different version of Wayman, who is cool and can fight, and he's confident. Another version of Wayman where he's wearing a suit and smoking a cigarette, and oh god, that was the moment that I was like, He's hot, huh? Ke Huy Quan is fucking hot. And we grow these appreciations as the audience for these other Waymond. So by the time the movie circles back around and we get regular Waymond, I forget the name for him, but you know, Evelyn's Waymond, we realize that he's hot in his own way too. Because attractiveness is not just a look. It is 90% confidence, in my opinion. If someone is confident, I don't give a shit what they look like. They are hot. And all these other versions of Waymond are hot in their own ways. And then the regular Waymond, he's so hot when you get back to him because we grow an appreciation for him. He is so unapologetically himself. He's cute and giddy, and you see all these... I'm gonna get emotional talking about it, y'all. But you get these flashes from Evelyn's perspective of all of these different times. I'm not gonna cry on camera. God, I'm not gonna look at you. I'm not crying. You can't tell. All these different flashes of Waymond, you know, playing with Joy and joking with Evelyn, and you realize there was a reason that Evelyn fell for him in the first place. Because Waymond's a really good guy. And in fact, the climax of the movie happens and the last fight and all these things happen, and the day is saved because Evelyn starts fighting like Waymond does. I'm gonna do another take where I'm not crying. Because Evelyn's fighting like Waymond does. But that shows you don't have to have a deep masculine voice. You don't have to be fucking 7 foot tall to be a hot, confident dude. It's taking the world a little bit to catch up. But when you defy that stereotype, you know, as a trans man, I'm getting cast in voiceover and live action roles that I wasn't before. Because people are so hungry for this representation. Because we have just been seeing the same thing over and over again, is these masculine guys playing the main character in a rom-com, playing the action hero. I want a trans dude who's playing these guys. I want a guy that looks like Ke Huy Quan playing these characters. Because they can. This movie proved that you can have that. And finally, let's talk about Joy and Jobu Tupaki. When I was presenting as female in the voiceover industry, I was getting cast as like these gross, weird, funny characters because I could carry the weight of my male counterparts. There are so few roles that just let women be weird and gross and funny. Dee from It's Always Sunny, she can pull her weight. Sweet Dee's character in It's Always Sunny works because she can get as loud and funny as the guys. And they let Jobu just be crazy and funny. Stephanie Hsu has some weird ass deliveries in this movie and they are brilliant. This role would not be the same without her. She's the best part of Be More Chill. She's the best part of most of the things she is in. And this was a perfect opportunity. I'm so happy for Stephanie that they got to put her in this because this is perfect. This was the perfect role for her to really show off her range. Like me, she's done a lot of improv and that clearly shows in this. And you could be one of the stronger female actresses in your improv group or whatever, and they'll keep giving you things because you can keep up with the guys. And I know that sucks, but girls don't get to be that. They usually get cast in the more subdued roles. Because the guys gotta be funny. The funny lines, let's give to the guys. So that's why this movie works so well, is when you look at the 3 stereotypes that are defied, you're making something truly unique. A film might have 1 or 2 of these stereotypes broken, but this movie having all 3 of them in the main character roles truly gives you a new movie viewing experience. Everyone's going crazy over this movie because there truly isn't another movie like this. When you look at the Daniels and the things that they've produced before this point, they did the Turn Down for What music video. They did a short called Interesting Ball, which is fantastic. And when you see what their sense of humor is and how they like to produce things, what jokes they like to make, what their morals are, of course, defying these kinds of stereotypes is important to them. And that's how you make something that sweeps the Oscars, because people are bored. There's no movie like this. Everyone just keeps making the safe film. They keep making the film that's Oscar bait, that we want, I'll eat it up. Let's eat the same stuff that we've been doing for years. Speaking of Rakakuni, as I was earlier.
In like when you do sketch comedy or you do like a lot, you know, like any sort of comedy, you put a hat on a hat, that's where you put a joke on a joke and it's no longer funny, right? You ruin the joke because you stack too many concepts on top of each other. And me and Daniel, our favorite version of a joke is where you don't stop at a hat on a hat. You go a hat on a hat on a hat on a hat, and then basically you flip it upside down and you realize the first person was a hat too. So like the whole thing is just like, how far can you go? And I think we're allowed to do that now because audiences are so savvy of tropes, and they understand like all the different conventions. And so when you do that, you're actually watching someone create a turducken, you know. But you would never get to understand what a turducken is unless you understood what each of those individual pieces were. And now that society understands what each of those individual pieces are, they're ready for a turducken. And now that they know what a turducken is,
you know those inside jokes with your friend that aren't funny to anyone else? That those kind of like, oh, you had to be there, even if I explain it, you had to be there. You can make the audience be there. Include your audience in the joke. Make something together. People like to feel included. You can build a repertoire. You can build inside jokes with the active audience in front of you. Rakakuni is an inside joke that you build with the person watching. If you make a joke and tell someone why it's funny, and then just keep adding things to it, they'll think it's hilarious. So then when it's a callback or they see something else, that's why it's funny when we actually see the raccoon on someone's head. That's kind of the appeal of podcasts, you know? If I'm here alone in my home making a food or doing a dish, and I feel like there's friends around me and we're making jokes, I feel better about myself. You know, that's the main appeal of podcasts, I feel, is to make us feel less alone. And you can do that. You can do that with your scene. Put the hat on the hat on the hat. Keep adding hats until it's something ridiculous. This movie is insane. I don't have to tell you. If I was trying to critique this script, I don't think I would get it. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people said no. Like I was talking about before, people want the safe bet. If they're investing money into your project, they want something that will immediately give them a return. They don't like taking risks. But without risk, you can't make anything new. My biggest flaw as a creator, it's good to take stock of what your strengths and weaknesses are. One of my biggest weaknesses is I don't know how to pitch my stuff to people. I'm not business minded. Remember before when I told you that I was a marketing minor? I was supposed to be a marketing major, and my brain is just not business wired. I was miserable. And so I switched to something that I enjoy. I enjoy the creative side of marketing, but not the business side. So I am terrible at asking people for money to make my things. So usually I'll be like, I don't know how to describe it to you. I'm just gonna like film it myself and make it, and then I'll show it to you, and then you could see if you want to give me more money to make more. That's the main plan right now with my live action series. We're just gonna make the pilot and show it to people and shop it around film festivals and stuff and see if people want to give us money to make more. Because you can't put me in the room and pitch the stuff. And this movie is the same. And number 5. The Daniels have talked enough about this. I think every member of the cast has talked about this. This cast is made of people who haven't worked in years due to cultural biases, the industry. Some of them aren't being cast properly. Some of them want to see change in the world and haven't been able to really do anything about it. It seems like this cast was just really drawn together and put together in a perfect way, where all of them wanted the same thing. All of them wanted to make this beautiful experience together to help other generations also. I think Stephanie Hsu talks in interviews about how emotional people get. Audience members will come up and talk to them about the movie and talk about their relationship with their mom or their dad or growing up Asian American and how these things, they can relate to them so well. I switched up my testosterone dosage recently. There are different amounts you can take for certain things. And basically I hadn't cried in like 2 years or so. It was just the amount of testosterone that I was on. And I switched it up right before seeing this movie. And gosh, I'm grateful for it. You know, I don't like crying. I don't really feel, and it's not like a toxic masculine thing, as I don't want to do it. But if you don't cry for 2 years and then you get this beautiful cathartic experience of just sobbing through a movie, it was beautiful and wonderful. I switched it up at the perfect time. Crying is kind of like masturbating for me at this point, because now it just feels so good that I just do it whenever I can, because it just feels nice. There's a reason I don't let my mom watch my videos. It's because they say shit like that. We all want to make something like this. We all want to make an impact on the world, because like as creatives, I think that is our number one goal, is just to make something that has the effect that this movie has had on so many people. This can help heal generational trauma. What a beautiful thing. What a wonderful miracle that a film can do something like that. It's not often that a movie feels like therapy. But when it does, that is something we need to take notice of and figure out how we can make something like that. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I'm gonna go celebrate my kitten's first birthday because it's Pumpkin's first birthday. She's sleeping, so I'm not gonna disturb her. Is Khaleesi sleeping too? Wow, she slept through this whole fucking video. Can you see that I'm not wearing pants if I zoom in on her? Hopefully not. I don't want to Photoshop pants on me for every scene. God, I've been editing screenplays for too long. I just said scene. Anyway, goodbye. I love you. Go watch this movie a million times. Thank you so much to all of my wonderful patrons over on Patreon. You literally make these videos possible. I would not be making these videos without your support. That's a literal thing. It's not just a thing I say at the end of the videos. I really appreciate it. I especially want to give a special little shout out to my silver sponsors, Alex Buhner, Brayix, Bria Katrina, Cyberlink420, Dan Millington, Gatarine, Giselle Nera, Marie Byrne, Mike Burnfire, Deep Kinor, Pocket Jawa, and Zoe. You know what's next. Guess what's next? Is the gold sponsors. If you guess that, you guess correct. It's always the same answer, so you could be cheating. Anyway, B and Sam Bartram, thank you so much for being my super cool gold sponsors. And last but certainly not least, my diamond sponsors. Brad Synth, Ipam, Getty Skog, Stefan Stalheim, and Tsukiyomi. I don't know. I'm finishing this video. Literally, I worked all night. I'm finishing it at 6:40 in the morning. Please don't judge me for these end patron things. I'm gonna take a shower and go to bed while this renders. I love you all. Have a good night. Watch this movie. Goodbye.